Of course, I mentioned during today's papers that we'll be talking about the federal government's plan to pay workers according to their performance. Now, a little background on that. A new wage system based on employees' productivity in the civil service is underway, the federal government said on Monday. The government said with the system, workers on the same level could earn different salaries. The government used the formulation of an innovative wage system was being considered because it realized that productivity was a key factor in the growth of the country's economy. The Director General of the National Productivity Center, Nasir Raji Mustafa, disclosed this on Monday during a meeting with labor correspondents. When asked whether the new proposal on a new productivity-led wage system had the support and input of organized labor, the NPC boss stressed that such a task couldn't be carried out without the input of labor. Joining me in the studio is an organization development consultant. His name is Marvel Joseph Essien. Good morning to you, Marvel.
Good morning, Sharon.
How are you doing?
I'm great. I'm very happy to be here to discuss this subject.
It's something of great concern to Nigerians, to Nigerian workers, of course, because this issue of minimum wage has been the talk of the town for God knows how long. Someone said we're way behind schedule of implementing the minimum wage, and now the NLC or the organized labor still insisting on a living wage and not the minimum wage. But I'd like to know what you think about this idea of performance-based wages.
Yes, when you look at the minimum wage and you look at what the labor organizations are asking for, they are not out of the line. Of course, wages should be living wage in the first place. Mm-hmm. So if wages is not a living wage, then it's not good enough for, like the workers will say, a take-home pay. Mm-hmm. A pay that is not able to take people home is not good enough. So in this case, the labor people are in line. And when I heard this news on Monday about the National Productivity Center, by the way, National Productivity Center is a research-oriented center that is set up. Don't ask me why they are being set up when we still have Ministry of Labor and Productivity. But that is how it is. Speaking
about duplication of assignments to different organizations.
Certainly. So when you hear these kind of things, you still know that we have a long way to go in Nigeria. We know sometimes when we talk about the Resilience Report, most people did not even know about the existence of this National Productivity Center until they made the news on Monday by talking about linking wages to productivity. And of course, what they are saying is correct. It's very, very correct. It's very, very good if we were to be able to implement it. But we have a major challenge in Nigeria that has to do with our readiness to see how we can implement policies when policies are formed. And this has to do with the policy making process in Nigeria. So how are we handling the policy making process in Nigeria? The haphazard manner this has been going on over the years. Like since IBB days, we talk about this policy making process and how it is, and it's getting worse every day. I'll make an example using when you hear public hearing. A subject like public hearing comes up. You want to build a policy, you want to make out a policy. You've not taken time to review. You have not taken time to follow the due process for this to be done, and you come up with this. You see, when you say you have a stakeholders meeting, a one-day stakeholders meeting is not sufficient for you to drive a policy, for you to come up with a policy. And in these days, we know that it is just a formality in case there is a legal case, a court case. Then oh, I've done this, I've done that, I've done. But was it done properly? Was it done the way it should be done? So before you can say you are able to do this, then you are able to follow the policy making process as a standard, not just picking up policy from anywhere and throwing them at the public that we want to implement them. And when you are looking at this, you look at what should a right policy process be like. You see, when we talk about the green paper, we talk about the green paper in terms of the workings of the public service, the civil servants in developing these policies. You know the interministerial relationship that would be there. They review the strategic meetings that are involved before you now throw this paper out for a stakeholders contribution. This stakeholders contribution ideally should be something that is thrown to the public, not just the stakeholders themselves, And who are the stakeholders? The media should have it. The universities should have it. Research organizations should have it, etc. So you have these people, the civil liberties organization, who would have this paper at least for 2 weeks, 3 weeks review and make inputs to them. So whatever inputs they are coming to make on the stakeholders meeting there would be something that has had good inputs from the people before you now throw it back for a white paper to be developed. After this white paper has been developed, then executive bill can go as to be able to form it as an act. But that has not been the case in Nigeria. In Nigeria, the situation is very, very different. So when the National Productivity Center, it is correctly in their purview to come out to say this would drive productivity, because they are correct to say pay by performance. If you are on the same level with someone, you can earn different salaries based on your performance. But the question is, have you done the groundwork? Have you established? Have we even graded the civil service? Have we done things that we are supposed to do? We have all the systems.
That was actually the next question I was going to throw. How will the government measure the performance of the workers to know what they are doing and what they are not doing and all of that, and consider the number of workers that we have in Nigeria?
The number is not even as much of a challenge as the criteria. Your question is more about the criteria of assessment. So if you are going to talk about this, you are going to talk about it in terms of measures. Because Sharon, you are conscious for you to ask that question that there has to be measures. So what are you measuring? How are you going to assess these people if you have not put down the right things in place? Put down the things that you are supposed to put in place. The fundamentals must be addressed for you to do so. Now, you have a situation where people resume work in the civil service or in the public service generally without being used to this assessment. It's not as if the civil service don't have the forms. They have the performance appraisal forms in the civil service, and they do conduct performance appraisal, I think every year or thereabout. But this performance appraisal they are conducting is more of a subjective rather than an objective assessment. Subjective because you have a system that is full of nepotism, corruption. So if you have employed your brother and sister already in the place, are you going to score your sister or brother low in the performance appraisal? Because of the way and manner you recruited this person, you need to keep this person in place. So when you say come and assess this person, that's what you're going to do. A performance appraisal system that is not able to take care of the objective of the performance appraisal, which is to drive growth, cannot be termed a performance appraisal. Now, when you talk about paying for performance, it means that you have already taken care of the determinants of productivity. Talking about the determinants of productivity, I'm talking about physical capital, for example. What are physical capital? If you provide someone with a job and you did not give the person a computer to work with, or you did not provide the person with a table to write on, you did not provide the person with a vehicle to move to do his work, or you did not provide the person with even money to provide it. So what are you going to assess the person? The law is already very, very clear. The person that gives work must provide the tools for the person to work with. So have you taken care of that? Have you taken care of the technological needs of the workers? We've gone digital, we've digitalized. So have you taken care of the technology needs of the workers? Have you taken care of the human capital development aspect of the staff? So, because in this kind of measure, in this kind of performance appraisal system, you have to think about coaching, you have to think about training and development, you have to pay attention to these areas. You have in the civil service, some institutes in the civil service that are meant to be developing and training, staff training and development of staff. But they are, those are, in these days, you hardly have people who are going there. The civil service structure is not built as a learning organization. So these are fundamental issues that should be addressed. These are fundamental issues. When we talk about recruitment, sometimes you hear people talk about how many years of experience. When you read through adverts in Nigeria, people looking for jobs, people say how many years of experience? We need 21 years of experience, we need 3 years of experience, and so on. Is that the way we should go? How about having people that are trainable? How about having people who have the capacity to work? How about having people who are able to flow well and bring growth in a learning organization? This National Productivity Center, they are meant to stimulate and promote productivity consciousness in the country. So it is not something about the civil service alone. It is about the goods and the general goods and services as provided in Nigeria. You know, sometimes it is expressed as a ratio, that's productivity is expressed as a ratio of the GDP, that's the gross domestic product of the country, that's total number of goods and services produced in a country. So now you are looking at the civil service. How about the other labor area? That's talking about keke drivers, talking about the dry cleaner, talking about the mechanics, talking about all these people. They are supposed to monitor the trends. So when you talk about the wages paying according to performance, you have to have developed your system to a situation where you have a performance matrix that can tell you what performance is and what measures you can derive from such matrix, from such matrix. So you have the matrix of assessment, like the cost aspect of it. What cost is someone putting in to produce what? What are you really doing? So you know, I'm saying this to differentiate production from productivity. So you may ask me, are people not just producing? People are here working, but how about the productivity aspect of it? Production is different from productivity. If I come today and I'm able to produce 20 cartons of milk, I've produced something, so I've done production. But if you want to talk about productivity, you are going to talk about it in terms of the cost I put in to get these things, in terms of the efficiency level. How effective and efficient was I in producing? Because immediately they are discussing this productivity, they are talking about people working smarter, not that you work hard. It's not about working hard, it is about being smart at your work. So you're able to use a little resources to produce more. So if you want to start assessing the people of Nigeria and say you want to pay them according to their performance, have you taken care of the fundamental issue of providing them with the correct work tools, the correct work environment? If you don't have the correct work environment, if you don't have the correct work tools, if you don't provide them with the necessary resources for them to produce, then what are you asking them to come and assess? So how are we going to assess them? How are we going to measure their performance? If you have a criteria, you tell somebody must come to work by 7 o'clock every day. You have set time for the person to come to work. How many hours is this person coming to work? After working that number of hours, in Nigeria, the standard work hours is 40-hour week. So if I can say that for every 40-hour week that I come to work, that this is what my output is, this is what I'm able to produce. You know, when you talk about the capital productivity, you talk about the machinery. Machinery comes with capacities. Say this one can produce 10 cartons in 1 hour. This one can produce. So if I'm able to produce 120 cartons for a week, that is my 40-hour week. So if you divide that, you see that my productivity is 3 cartons per hour. So what am I going to be paid? You will now look at the cost that you put into producing a carton or 3 cartons in that hour. What really went in? So I can now say I can pay this out from the salary. So that's why we could say that people going to work, when you talk about the overbloated civil service, they can be there doing the work. Many people will produce more, isn't it? So many people are supposed to produce more. But if you have many people that are redundant, if you have many people that are not able to produce, then this initiative of the National Productivity Center is about paying for productivity, not necessarily paying for production.
Okay, Marvel, I believe that this has something to do with one of the questions that I asked during May Day. We had a guest in the studio, an analyst, and there was a question posed to the guest. It's one thing to ask the government, what are you paying But then it's another thing to ask the workers, what are you doing? There are so many civil servants that don't even go to work and expect salary at the end of the month. There are different excuses for it. For example, what you said about equipment not being on ground. They go and they realize that they're not doing anything the entire time. There's also an excuse of duplication of assignment. So you get to see that somebody else is doing your job. So why am I being here? I'll just stay at home and they'll pay me salary. And that's the story for several civil servants. But this initiative now, according to you, if I'm getting you right, it's a good thing, it's a good initiative, but we're putting the cart before the horse.
Yes, the foundation is not there.
Okay.
I listened to you on first May, and I listened, but I reserve my comment. But I want to say that I like us to know that you don't put something on nothing. It doesn't work. There is no way you will build a house without a foundation. The house cannot stand. So if you want to earn without putting in anything, then you can't earn. You may just earn from your capital. After that, it will cease. So whether it is a private organization, whether it is government, the same principle will apply. So if you are running an organization, then the productivity of that organization will be what will determine the growth of that organization. But when people begin to look at government as a Father Christmas, that's where the problem starts. So if you get into working, you hear people say that I want to earn 200,000. Ask them, why do you want to earn 200,000? Say that's what they are paying people in Cotonou, or that is what they are paying people. So you are not discussing the input, you are discussing the output. So if you don't have anything in, you want something out from what you did not put in.
Garbage in, garbage out. But Marvel, why does this seem to be like the order of the day, putting the cart before the horse? Because we get to see different initiatives, policies, whatever it is, put in place, and then at the end of the day, after analysis, there's some form of realization that background research was not done. Certain things have not been put in place before this announcement.
Sharon, do you want me to tell you the truth?
Of course.
I will tell you the truth if you really want me to tell you the truth. We have human capital deficiency in government. In the face of having abundant human capital in Nigeria, we have experts in Nigeria. Nigerians are intelligent. That's we talk about Japan syndrome. Other countries are stealing our human capital from us. We have, but in government it is lacking. The truth is, you have people who go to copy and paste. You see, the UNDP, they have a library of policies. The World Bank, they have a library of policies. So when you look at these policies that are in the World Bank, people don't go and copy it and paste it in Nigeria. That is the problem. So you cannot keep operating in ways that you don't domesticate your policies. You don't sit down to generate your policies. You just want to steal or take policies, the fanciful policies, to come and implement. For example, this what we are discussing today, National Priority Center. Who told you that you can implement a performance-based pay, that is wages and salaries? Who told you can do that in Nigeria? You cannot, because you are not ready for it. If you were to have the foundation completely down, then you can implement it. The other day we talked about the cyber security levy. So you just wake up, PIM, and IMF would have
ginger.
Exactly. So you have the IMF tell you that your electricity bill, come add, remove subsidies, bring, and you act on it. So if we were to follow the appropriate policy making process, which I mentioned earlier, then we would get it right, because we have the brains in Nigeria. The ideal thing is for us to have knowledgeable people, which we have in the ministries. You know, I would further tell you that the ministries, the federal ministries, state ministries, most of them have been not most of them, all of them has been marginalized completely from governance. So they don't have the opportunity to add to the policy making process. So if you look at how a policy making process should be driven by the government, that is how green papers are issued, comes out. You look at the ministries, a ministry of culture, for example, a ministry of education, a ministry wherever you want to come up with a policy, you know that this would become a law. So it would be something, goes to the public and it would affect everybody. You need to study it and ask, for example, Ministry of Education will ask Ministry of Finance, this policy that we're about to, how is it going to impact on finances of the state? Ministry of Finance will say, we would have to ask the revenue generating ministry, can you really do this? Or we would need to, how about trade and industries? Let's bring them in. That is how you begin to form an interministerial relationship that will come into a strategic meeting and sit and deliberate on that strategic paper called the green paper. So once it is completed, they roll it out, typed out by professionals, and send them out to stakeholders. That's where you have the stakeholders meeting. You heard when we talk about national minimum wage, they said they are coming for stakeholders meeting. One center was Akwa now. I wish you went to that place and see how a stakeholder, it was done like a marriage ceremony or some kind of ceremony. That is not what it should be. People that were seated there, most of them were just seeing the paper for the first time. So what contribution are they going to make if they were not prepared enough for that? So if you had the media people have this paper, they will critique it.
Okay, but Marvel,
the university research centers and so on, they will critique it.
You heard during the during the introduction that the NLC is aware of this development and there was still a go ahead. What does this mean really for Nigerian workers? Having the body approved to this, if this is exactly how you have put it, if they're aware of all of this, what does this mean to the average Nigerian worker?
Sharon, you are driving me to say so much. I don't want to go in that way because we know the circumstances.
We're just having a discussion.
This conversation is going.
Well, we're simply having a discussion, Marvel.
You know, the NLC. You look at them. They are talking about minimum wage and they are saying pay us this money, pay us that money. We know how it has been going on for a long time now. We talked about how did we even arrive at this 5-year period, the 5-year tenure of the NLC, saying that they want a salary review. Why should it wait for 5 years? Economic indicators are jumping every month. We talk about inflation rate in March, different from inflation rate in April, inflation rate in November being different, the income of Nigeria falling and rising. These indicators are not static. So why do you want to wait for 5 years before a review is made? But if you were to do on pay on performance, of course, reviews can be made monthly, bi-monthly, bi-yearly, or annually. A salary review can be made. But when the National Productivity Center, I would, if you understand, the National Productivity is a parastatal of government. Only the presidency, they are maybe looking for favor from. Did the NLC even hear them well when they said this is what they want to do? So if they come up with these things and say, did you tell
is it a thing about hearing them well or having the capacity to research these things?
Let's start to implement this. You'll see the first people that will cry is the NLC. It was in this country that we sat and we heard that certain delegates are not able to vote in their party primaries because of the law they made for themselves. It's the same. It applies. It's NLC, politicians, all of them. That's how they are going until we come back to address this policy making process and get it done properly. NLC, if you wanted to talk about this policy of wages tied to performance, tied to salaries, if you want to analyze it, then NLC will just be one of the stakeholders. TUC is there as another arm of law, the labor labor union. TUC is there, NLC is there. So they are just one aspect. You have other stakeholders that this concerns that will be there to analyze and deliberate. Then you have the universities. I'm talking about in terms of them being the knowledge bank of any serious country, not Nigeria. Now, if you have the universities, you have the research centers. We have some research centers for agriculture in Nigeria that you don't even hear their name. But we are talking about food supply challenges in Nigeria. Nobody is remembering that we have research centers that would have been impacting on the way our cassava should grow and how our cocoa, how we can build on this and that, and how we can research on the seeds that we are using. We have research centers. This National Productivity, they are a research center. Have you heard of, anyway, let me not ask you that question if you've heard about them. I'm asking, there are many people that have not even heard about them before. We talked about NAFDA some time ago and we said they were existing until somebody just came out. Now this policy just brought them out, that there is a National Productivity Center. Whether you look at this as a duplicity or you're looking at it, no matter how you look at it as a National Productivity Center, it is in their purview to do what they are doing now. But are they doing it right? Are they doing it the way it should be done? No, they are not, because the fundamentals have not been addressed. You cannot say that you want to appraise people. You cannot do an appraisal when you are not clear with your criteria, when you have not laid down your foundation right, when the system itself is not working the way it should be working. You just talked about people that are in the ministry, 10 people doing one job. So who will carry the assessment be based upon? So if you have 5 people doing the same job, so for you to be able to do this, you would have been sure that you have done a clear job evaluation, not the one that you copied from World Bank. A domesticated job evaluation that would lay worth and values on jobs. You would have done that first. You would have done a job analysis. So you would have been able to say, this is the content of this job. Maybe these are the requirements. These are the kind of people I want that can be doing this job. I know of his situation as an organization development consultant that we have had to adjust certain private organizations' expectations regarding the requirement of people to perform certain job functions. And you see that what their expectation was, like all these years of experience, 3 years, 5 years experience, was not necessary. So by the time you sit in a strategic meeting and assess, why do you need someone with a 5 years experience? 5 years experience on somebody is producing cocoa, for example, and you want 5 years experience on somebody that has been producing motorcycles. What bearing, what relationship does that have? So when you sit down in a strategy meeting and begin to assess and question this, I've had these people coming to me to consult and say they want to develop their organization, and once you tell them go and sit down to do a business plan, they run away. Or they come up with a business plan that you see them putting bulk money. I need 20 million. What do you need inside this? What constitutes 20 million? No breakdown. You don't know, because we are not productivity conscious.
Okay, Marvel, let me stop you there. Now, the NPC boss disclosed that the center was collaborating with several international agencies and organizations to ensure that the productivity and skills of Nigerian workers are greatly improved to impact positively on the economy, particularly the International Labour Organization, Japanese International Cooperation Agency, Africa Productivity Association, and Asia Productivity Association.
Sharon, that is the problem of Nigeria. Oh. What are you going to do in China? What are you going to do in Japan? What are you going to do with the international organizations when you can domesticate your needs in Nigeria? We have experts in Nigeria that can sit down to. So they are just quoting how World Bank are supporting us, Japanese, this, that, they were doing the same thing. Did Japan come to Nigeria to ask us how we are going to raise our productivity? If you are in Japan, you see their values is different. The values that we have in Nigeria is the direct opposite of the value system in Japan. Take it from, a Japanese child from birth has respect as the core value that is driving him. A Japanese child, you talk about honesty, you talk about integrity, You talk about transparency. They have it as their core values. But the opposite is what is obtainable in Nigeria. So if you are to build a system, you can build it around beginning to change our values from what we are doing currently about promoting corruption, nepotism, on all sorts of things. Today, the House of Assembly, they have started their trip to local governments to assess if the transition chairman should continue or what they have been doing to look at their performance. And I ask a question. What is the benchmark? What are you going to do there? When you get to that local government, what are the likely questions you are going to do? Have we, in the first instance, agreed upon a standard of performance from this TC chairman? Were they given the ground rules? You want to play football, they will tell you this is foul, this one is a penalty, this one is this and that. So you know the rules are there. So you have criteria of performance. Were they given this performance for them? What are they going to assess? So when they get to the local government, the needs of my local government is different from the needs of your local government. So are you going to use the idea of the needs of your own local government to come and assess my own local government? Those are the questions that we need to understand. That these things are supposed to be domesticated. These things are supposed to be ingenious. This thing is supposed to come from us. It's not supposed to come from international organizations. So when they talk in this manner, you know that they are not getting it right. You know that they are bound to fail. You know that they are wasting their time. You know that they are either deliberately deceiving Nigerians to make Nigerians feel maybe this is just a distraction from the minimum wage discussion. So you begin to talk about this and confuse them and make the people lose concentration or focus on the subject that we should be discussing today about what minimum wage should be paid.
If that is a distraction, it doesn't seem to be working because the Labour is still insisting that the announcement for the living wage should be on the 31st of May.
Let's wait for them to see how they will come up with that, because like I had always been saying, we are in a very critical time now. It's becoming very clear to Nigerians that we need to do the right things. Now, Labour on their own part, where do they think government will take the money to pay them? Sharon, you know, oil has dropped from $90 to 80 something dollar as of yesterday or the day before yesterday. I saw that it's dropping. Our production, we were benchmarking, is it 1.7 million barrels per day?
Yes.
We are still struggling at 1.2 something per day. So where are we, even though the cost of oil is higher than our benchmark in the budget? Now, inside that budget, you remember the shortfall in the fiscal deficit that we have in the budget. So where is federal government going to take money to come and pay that salary of is it 600,000 they're asking for?
615,000.
So where are they going to get the money? How? So definitely federal government cannot pay that money. Certainly, they also know that federal government will not pay. So we are a country that we keep enjoying deceiving ourselves and acting in ways and sometimes taking away our productivity time to be doing things that are not. What I would think that Labour at this point should do is to think of aligning with best practice to see how ministries, MDS, ministries, departments and agencies of government can become more productive. We should be talking about this productivity issue now. We don't have food in Nigeria today because the food supply is very, very low. Now, if we were to think of productivity, then we would have known that we should have concentrated on producing more food instead of just completely depending on oil. And the kind of impunity that exists in government, that they throw away money, they are not able to generate the kind of money they should be generating. You heard the aviation minister talk about the toll gates that the VIPs are not paying. And they said for the budgetary ones, thank God they even put the electronic thing that it's counting, you know, as the bar is lifting, it's counting the number of vehicles. So they are scientifically sure that they should be expecting, is it 250 billion or 250 million? Then they will be receiving 100 instead of 250. So you can see the shortfall in that expectation. And in some other case, they are just making about 40% of what they were expected to make. So such impunity, the president has said that they are going to be paying, but we know how Nigeria is. That's how they say they will reduce the number of people traveling with them. But of course, people are no more counting the number of people that are traveling, so maybe they have reduced or they have not reduced. We don't know. But the point is this: in this country, we are still living in an age where we have militarized our system. Even in Aquarium State here, when you see the black vehicles going to the airport, they go there, they'll lift the bar for them to pass immediately. They don't pay toll gates. So those impunity does not align with the productivity standard. So when you are asking for more money, salaries to be paid to you, or you are going to measure somebody's work standard, what is going to be your criteria? How are you going to do it when your practice is a complete opposite of what productivity should be about? And let me also add that productivity issue is not about civil service alone. Their mandate is for the country, or total goods and services produced in this country. So you should be able to give people orientation on how to be more productive in whatever they are doing. So the keke driver should know that if he goes to buy 1 liter of fuel and drop a little in his keke, it takes people on the way. Sometimes the keke stops and he says fuel has finished, and waste time and all that, doing all that. That is working against his productivity. That is working against himself. If people are conscious that even in the organization that you are working, that you should be asking yourself a question, that in this organization I am working, what am I bringing to the table? So in this organization, I'm being paid so amount of money. So have I been able to generate this amount or exceed this amount that I'm generating? So if people are able to make those assessments, if you have the human resources capacity in organizations, they will be able to, in places that we do business with, we do a matrix. We work out performance management up to the matrix standard. You see, there are standards, and it's not as if these things are not obtainable even in Nigeria here. It is, but it is in private organizations that you have them. You have good, correct performance appraisal system that people that are carrying out this appraisal are trained to do so. So this national productivity that is talking about wages, how many people do they have in the organization that understand salary administration systems? And not to talk of how to link it to performance. How many do they have? And in even if they have in their own organization, how many ministries and departments, MDAs, have such capacity to be able to do this assessment? So it is not something that should be taken that anybody can just stand up and say, oh, I'm going to do a performance appraisal. You will be shrouded with subjectivity, because already in the system, the flaws are there. The flaws are such that you have people who employ people based on nepotism, who employ people based on corruption, who employ people. So how are you going to assess such people that you are employing on such levels, at such levels?
All right. Okay. Let's get to hear from the listener. If you're just joining us, this is the melting point of Memories 96.5 FM. Now, the topic for discussion for today is the federal government's plan to pay wages according to performance, or wages performance based. So we would like to hear your thoughts on this particular topic. The phone lines are open, and the phone numbers are 0803 085 7755, 0803 085 7755, or 0809 066 6909, 0809 066 6909. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Lady Sharon.
Good morning to you, Akpan. Welcome to the program.
Good morning.
I'm calling from you.
Good morning, sir.
I think our administrator, maybe executive, at that investigator, they try to give us the impression that they are working. In more advanced plan, where people are paid according to productivity, they are paid per hour. Here, we receive Nigerians are paid monthly. Now, how will you check it? Like in public school, in private school, when you go in there, there's nothing there. And you live and work or thereabout. Here, how will you know how many hours a teacher who is not supervised and put in working in receiving class? If other department does not bring in later, how will
All right, thank you very much, Akpan. We're still taking up some more calls. 0803 085 7755, 0803 085 7755, or 0809 066 6909, 0809 066 6909, or drop a message on WhatsApp. The number is 0809 066 6909. We're streaming live on Facebook, so you could drop a comment under the live stream. The handle is Memories 965 FM. Marvel, what's the way forward in reaction, adding to the reaction that you have after this call now? What's the way forward? Would you say dead the idea completely, or give it some time to implement it? But let's take this call first. Hello, good morning. Good morning to you. Welcome to the program. What's your name? Okay, good. Go on. Yeah, we can hear you.
I want to talk about
You'd have to call us back because we can't hear you properly. The network is poor, so we can't get you. And once we can't get you, we can't react or respond to what you're saying. So call us back 0803 085 7755 or 0809 066 6909. Those are the numbers. Marvel.
Yes, you see, when you are assessing these kind of things and you want to see a direction to it.
Let me interrupt you.
Yes.
Once again, sorry. Hello, good morning.
Yeah,
Okay, I think it's clearer now.
yeah, I want to say the amount of minimum vegetable has been demanding is that of strangers. Now, therefore, they are very close to the battle, and they have in the government. Can you hear me?
Yes.
A little, at least we have heard you say the amount is outrageous.
The government supposed to use their position and just the federal government about the country. The productivity, the federal government is what you should do. You have to bring this kind of resource for the good of the people, not only for the good of the level, but for the good of the entire Nigeria. They have the force. But these people I don't want to say they are blindfolded or they are blind. And the people have only refused to do the right path. They want to do the path that it's favorable to all the alone. They are the beneficiaries of the Nigerian economy and the beneficiaries of the poor masses who doesn't have a voice. Now, why can't they want to take it upon themselves to speak for the people that cannot speak? Why can't they want to take it upon themselves to tell the federal government you remove something without letting on, without putting things on the ground, without to get the suffering of the people? Okay, now, just to fix the refinery on the right December. Why can't you find something fixed right now? Now, you will down through and you give the federal government just 1 week or even more than that. Let us see the refinery so as to get the suffering of the poor Nigeria. Because this thing that happened here in Nigeria does not affect the people that are running there. So there's a lot to do with the technical. People in themselves can say for themselves, they can organize. People have power than the government, but people cannot use that power. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
So, now, when we talk about in other houses in the position, what they call the person, my own, I call it misallocation of resources. So if somebody will happen to be a doctor, you don't have to bring that person to go and be a commissioner for roads because does not say anything about roads. Because that person is your friend or is your relative. So this is another this is the thing that really affects the growth of Nigeria. Misallocation of resources. Let someone that is good for a certain position be put in that position. Don't give somebody position on a ground of the position of the politician. If you can not work in any part of that, put that person in a ground for another that will work. You don't have to throw that person. Just do it for the interest of the
Alright, kindly wrap things up for us. Wrap up. Thank you. Marvel, we have about 3 minutes or 2 minutes left too. The floor is yours.
All this discussion is just about performance management. And when we talk about this tying of wages to it is an aspect, just an aspect of performance management. So, like to your question, however, any aspect of performance management is performed, it is still good than nothing at all. For example, when His Excellency the Governor is asking for a scorecard from the local government areas, it's a good step in the right direction still, even though the foundation is not laid properly yet. When you hear the president of the country talk about if the minister is not performing, they will sack the minister, it's a good step in the right direction, even though the foundation is not well laid. Now, in conclusion, I would just say we should not lose sight of the right things that we should be doing in order for us to make cause our economy to grow. Because if we have this productivity consciousness in Nigeria, our economy will definitely grow. These things can impact on even the inflation level that we are having. Because if your productivity is high, then it will drive down inflation. If you have many goods effectively or efficiently produced goods and services in the country, costs will come down, and it will help the inflation level of the country. It will drive our economic growth to a very large extent. So this is just the way that we should go as a country, instead of just busying ourselves, pretending as if we are fine when we are not really fine. We should think of productivity. We should think of building productivity, laying the good foundation. Let us do the things the right way we should be doing. Let us see how we can address these issues of nepotism. Like the House Assembly going out now, they should look at themselves first. Their aides, how are they employing their aides? Is it their brothers and sisters or their children that they are using as aides in those places?
All right.
So let us
thank you, Marvel. So one message that has been passed from this discussion is the fact that it's not just about bringing up big policies, but doing the underground work.
Yes, to make it work well.
All right. Thank you very much, Marvel Joseph, and thank you very much for this, for your time and contribution here. We've come to the end of the program, The Melting Point. We will be heading to the dance floor till midday, where we'll bring you the midday bulletin. Remember that we gave you a breaking news that's an hour ago, concerning a protest in the Akwa Ibom State International Airport. Staff and members of National Union of Air Transport Employees and Air Transport Senior Staff Association of Nigeria, ATSAN, of the Victor Atta International Airport, Akwa Ibom State, are staging a protest over the poor working condition of the staff at the state aviation sector. So we're bringing you more details during the midday news bulletin, so stay tuned. My name is Sharon Mandor, and from me to you, have a lovely day.